So some of the things to keep in mind. Now, there are different types of virtualization. There's server virtualization, which the virtualization of a guest operating system on a thin hypervisor that manages access to hardware resources. And server virtualization really is the act of having multiple virtual machines inside of a single box. Desktop virtualization, where you have, well, basically desktops that are virtualized, and you have a thin client, for example, that connects to the desktop. And in the case of desktop virtualization, XenDesktop is an example of that. Server virtualization, Citrix XenServer is an example of that. Application virtualization allows you to deploy applications without relying on any installation directly on an operating system. You can actually have applications virtualized and have a bunch of resources and a bunch of people use that application from that central source. XenApp is an example of application virtualization. Storage virtualization is the presentation of logical storage resources that reside on one or more physical devices. XenServer implements storage virtualization as well. Network virtualization is the act of taking one or more physical networking devices and allowing them to be shared among many machines, many virtual machines and many other resources. Citrix XenServer allows this to happen. Now, installing hypervisor directly onto hardware. Now, we have this Type 1 virtualization that installs on bare metal. Citrix XenServer, Microsoft Hyper-V, and VMware ESX and ESXi servers are examples of Type 1 virtualizers. Now, server virtualization is really, in some cases, host-based, which is Type 2 virtualization. They require Windows or Linux operating system to already be in place. There's a product called VMware Server, VMware Workstation, VMware Fusion, Microsoft Virtual Server, and Microsoft Virtual PC, Oracle VirtualBox. These are all examples of Type 2 host-based virtualization platforms, where you have your hardware and then you have an operating system like Windows or Linux, and on top of the operating system, you have a hypervisor. Application virtualization is a solution that can deliver applications that are never installed on everybody's machine. It can securely provide on-demand access to users anywhere on the network. Citrix XenApp is an example of application virtualization. Microsoft has a product called App-V. VMware has a product called XenApp that all implement virtualization, application virtualization. Storage virtualization consists of the consolidation of multiple network storage resources into a single or multiple storage service targets. Data Core, SAN Symphony, and SAN Melody are examples of that. Left-hand network SANIC is an example of that. Windows Storage Server 2003 R2 and on the Storage Server 2012 are examples of that. VMware Virtual SAN is another example of that.